Hello there. We're here with Eliot Rhys and Oscar Jacques. They live in London, is that right? No, you're over there in London proper, is that right?
No, yes. we live up in Edinburgh, capital city of Scotland. So
Edinburgh. Oh, right. So if you'd introduce yourselves to our viewing public and tell us who you are and where you came from.
Yeah. Sure. I'm Eliot Rhys. I'm one of the composer for The Do, which was chosen for the New Voices project this year. I just finished a degree in music. I do little composy bits and bobs and some other creative work. And this is Oscar. You should do your thing now. That's all.
I'm Oscar. I am also a writer, predominantly. A writer for The Do. I'm not as musically talented as Eliot, so I mostly help out with the scripting and some lyric work. I started out in performing. I think we both did on stage, and that's kind of what got us interested in doing stuff like this. But acting has always been a thing that we've done. I was on a TV show for 2 years, a kids TV show here in Britain. And that kind of perpetuated the idea that that's the kind of industry, the creative industries are the things that we wanted to be in. And since then we've kind of shirked any idea of having a proper job in pursuit of doing stupid time traveling musicals.
And so far so good. You don't have a proper job, so far you're fulfilled.
Yeah, we're nailing that part.
Yeah.
That one's the easy bit.
Yeah, excellent. And how did you guys link up? How did you meet? Was it in school?
We grew up together as our parents are the same parents.
We have the same parents.
We're brothers. We go by different last names. Our last names that we use that are different are our middle names. We don't tend to use those.
So essentially, we didn't want to when we were deciding we're going into creative stuff, we didn't want to be like the something brothers. You know, you always get the Coen brothers or whatever. That kind of like is always the brothers.
Right.
What were the brothers that did
the
Yeah. So it's like there's the siblings, they're the two, and we didn't want that because we thought we were going to do vastly different things.
Branch off.
So our real last name is Short, which isn't particularly sexy for show business either. So.
The Short Brothers, right? How did you meet? Which one of you is older then? Okay, so you met because Mom brought Oscar home, and so yes, that's how you met. So
started there.
So are you still happy with that choice of not to use your not to reveal yourself as brothers? You thinking that's?
I don't think it's something that we try to hide. It's just I think just for the future, it's probably easier because Eliot definitely has. I think you're gonna go a more musical route at some point, and I think I will go a different way. But I think we have a plan. We have one of these grand plans that nobody ever actually sticks to, but we want to work with each other for the rest of our lives. We're the only person who can tolerate the other one. Yeah. But we do want to have sort of different facets to our career that might not intertwine as much as it does right now.
Right.
So I think it's good to have that separate.
Are you headed for a physical split? Is one of you off to a different part of the world?
Well, I think at the moment we're kind of designing, sort of trying to force our lives so we're kind of in the same place so we can work on creative stuff. But yeah, I think we don't really know where we're going to end up. It kind of just we do a few different projects and we're kind of just trying to see which one sort of grows legs and we'll just follow that and we can end up sort of anywhere. But at the moment we're stuck together, unfortunately, for the time being.
All right. And how has collaborating together been? Has that been easy? Has that been hard?
It's always been something that we've done. When Eliot and I moved to Scotland, we lived in England for a while, and then when we moved up here, we lived in a house quite far away from all of our friends, so we kind of had to work together. So we've been making stuff together for a very long time, and it's the only way that we wouldn't get angry at each other.
There is that power struggle still. It's like one of us like, oh, we should do this. Like, no, and then we have like the foot down, like we're putting this in, and then the shouting match ensues. But yeah, for the most part, it's smooth.
Well, you're the older brother, so you usually have are more powerful. Like, no, we're doing this, and because I'm the younger brother, I'm more manipulative, and I think it's a good yin and yang. You know what I mean?
Wait, now, wasn't it, what were the name of those Siamese twins? It wasn't the literal Siamese twins. They weren't. Do you remember who they are? I was gonna say they weren't yin and yang, but it's pretty close to that. Lin and Lang. Anyway, look that up.
Yeah, I think my book has a book on that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, Oscar, are you the generally the book writer and the lyricist?
No, I mean, I make that's predominantly what I do, but I'm not the predominant person who does it. I think we share that pretty equally. I don't try to hide the fact that when it comes to musical things, and so Eliot's just a more musical person than I am, so he ends up doing more of the work.
But your credits, when you have credits, are written by the both of you rather than music by one. And so I see.
Yeah, and we tend to just go by created by pretty much everything.
There's so much overlap. That's the thing. Like we'll get halfway through something, then someone will change a word, and by the end of the thing, we've forgotten who's done what. And so it's just like just made by these two. That'll do. So, yeah.
That's great. So what is? Do you generally write an outline in the book first and then add the songs? Does it all come at once for you guys? How does that work?
For this one, do you want to go? Do you want to do this one?
You can go. That's way too big.
Okay. So essentially, we kind of this is the first musical thing it's not the first musical thing we've written, but the first one that we want to sort of turn into a full scale thing. And it started out with just trying to come up with a dumb idea. We went through a few really stupid ones. Like we had at one point we had an intergalactic burger chain was one of the first ones that we it was just one that we put out. But it basically started out concept, through line for story, song plotting. So essentially these are the emotional beats where we want a song to be, and sort of just plotting those through. So I think we have about 21 beats. So that's about right, of which maybe a quarter are done, and then from that we kind of just do the script bit by bit. But the whole through line of the story is done before we sort of plot any of the songs or anything. So we have a full idea of what the entire story is going to be, and then obviously once you get the idea, you can always change it and mix it about and sort of adapt things as you go.
That's great. So the show that you're working on now is called The Do. Is that right?
Right.
For American audiences who aren't familiar with that term, that basically means a bachelor party. Is that right? Stag party. It's before getting married party.
Well, yes. You can have a stag do, which is like a bachelor party, and a hen do, which is a bachelorette party. But a do in general, it just means a party or a gathering or get together.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And it's finished from beginning to end, and all the songs. Is it done?
No. The story is completely plotted out, but I think we're about a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, I'd say
about a quarter of the way through songs. A bit more of the script is done than a quarter of the way through, but so we're still plodding away at it.
Great. When are you thinking you're gonna finish it, and what are you gonna do with it then?
This is the problem with having no imposed deadline by some looming corporation who's saying get this done on time or we'll kill your family or whatever.
The reason we did the first bit was that it was my uni project. For my last bit of uni, I had to write 5 or 6 of the songs to actually put forward for the university project. So that was all finished. But now that we've got no looming deadline, I don't know. We'll probably aim for the end of the year.
I think so.
I think that's not
at least to have a first draft of the whole thing.
So we do the whole thing, and then in terms of plans after that, I mean, everybody's like, oh yeah, aim for the West End, all this kind of stuff. But we just don't know. It's such a weird show, and it maybe isn't everyone's cup of tea. You just don't know. I'd like to give it a run at the Fringe. Definitely. We're in Edinburgh. We have I don't know if you know, we've got the biggest arts festival in the world in Edinburgh.
Right.
Loads of people put shows out here and stuff. And so at some point we'd like to do a full version of it at the Fringe, just to see what the reaction was.
Does the Royal Conservatoire know about you guys? Of Scotland, Royal Conservatoire of Scotland? They know
No,
about
I
you?
don't. So,
We've been there a lot. We've auditioned for things there. I had an interview for a filmmaking thing there. You did some acting there.
but I know that the one of the winners from last year on the New Voices project, I think Scott Gilmore
And Claire McCarthy? McKenzie. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, I think they did. Was it Forest Boy that they did?
Yes,
was
that
that
was it.
thing? Yeah. So we kind of did some research ahead of time before applying, and we just saw, oh, these guys are from Scotland. Maybe we have a shot, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, but we haven't sort of studied there or anything, but yeah, we know of it. It's definitely a hub.
Yeah, because I would encourage you knocking on their door and telling them about your project, just because you're in the neighborhood, and I think they're looking for works for their students at nothing else, and they've got quite an infrastructure. You might look at them. So your interaction with us, with New Voices project, what was that like from your end? Weird.
Super. So it's strange because Elliot and I don't really collaborate with pretty much any other real human people. So it's like when we see the stuff that only we have been working on, and then we see other people take that and go there. It's a very strange feeling, but very cool to see everybody's take on the characters, especially in the dialogue, and hearing somebody who wasn't me singing the songs. Very interesting.
Particularly the male stripper, I would think that's about as far a phenotype from you guys as you could get. For those that don't know the piece of the moment, at a bachelorette party, they hire a stripper, and the guy who shows up is middle-aged. Let's say he's well past the prime of being a fit stripper, and one of our senior actors in our acting company played the role. I thought to great effect. I thought that was a really, really lovely fit.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we're thinking about including that number in Stages Festival in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, with the same guy. So, and how was the feedback, and what do you how'd that resonate? Like, well, that's interesting. That's not the way we sing. We don't know how to incorporate that, or great. Let's go back to the drawing board. What are you doing with the notes that you got?
Sorry, we just lost the sound there. Sorry, we were just looking quizzically at the camera. Sorry. But in terms of the sort of feedback we got, like, I cannot stress this enough. Super useful, like insanely useful. It was not only just the feedback, but just seeing the show sort of in a sort of embryonic stage as it happened, thinking about things that we'd written and lines that we put in that we didn't really think about, and then just sort of there were some bits where you're like, yes, that moment really sort of works, and then some moments where we were just looking like, we really shouldn't have put that line in there, and just having that sort of perspective on it was brilliant. Not only was that great, but in the feedback sessions afterwards, the thing that we really appreciated was that there were no punches pulled. It was straight up like, this wouldn't jive with a sort of American audience. This stuff isn't. Maybe you could challenge yourself to be a little more sort of. I mean, we were pretty lazy with some of the joke writing and stuff like that. Some of the subject matter was just a little sort of like, we were just kind of looking for an avenue to put jokes in and things like that. And it was great just having somebody that sort of took a step back and just went like, I think you can do better. And although it wasn't just like, don't get me wrong, this stuff wasn't just like, oh, this is rubbish, this is rubbish, this is rubbish. There were some great moments where we were just like, oh yeah, this works and this works and this works. But it was just having that sort of perspective that went back and went, it's fine, but you can do better. And that was the thing that sort of galvanized you to sort of want to go. And we've gone back and we've changed some bits. So there are different iterations actually of the songs. But then some of the things that you just don't think about either. So we had one particular piece of feedback, which when I heard it, I leant back, I was just like, that's it. That's why we messed it up, which is that all of the songs were single actor songs sang at people. Where was the interaction? And we were listening to one of the other things, I can still remember, it was like, animals are going crazy. And it was like the for one of the other people that was in our group, and it was like the interaction with that song and the fact that all the cast sort of were throwing the lines back and forth to each other, and we were just thinking like our songs are just basically single person pop songs sang to a stage of people just onlooking, and it wasn't until that was pointed out to us that we were just like, duh, you know. So yeah, super useful, really valuable stuff. Yeah, sorry, I just went on a spiel.
I agree.
I'm personally interested in how the comments about there were a lot of jokes that were about body types, and we were wondering whether it was a cultural thing, whether those were funnier in the UK than they are in America. Did you have any further thoughts about that? Because we just sort of said, not terribly funny here, but we didn't know whether that meant it still might be funny in the UK. What'd you guys do with that comment?
I don't know. I think there's sorry.
No, the only thing I was going to say about that is that I think there is less of a cultural divide than you probably think in terms of what Americans and Brits kind of sort of jive with when it comes to a subject matter for jokes. I think if something comes over here, it goes to America very quick and vice versa. It was kind of just, I think a lot of it was just lazy writing in that it was very hyped and we wanted to make the jokes hype. Like the things we usually write, we don't, this is the first musical thing we've done, and the other comedy stuff we do is very reliant on sort of like subdued settings and wordplay and sort of awkward demeanors. But because this is a stage show, everything's turned up to 11, boom, boom. And so we needed avenues for jokes that were a little more hyped and a little more sort of, outrageous a little bit, because that's the stuff that thrives on stage, as opposed to what would thrive on camera. And so it was kind of just, I guess, just laziness or short-sightedness on our part.
It's knowing what you want to make the joke about. But I know Ricky Gervais talks about this quite a lot, about the subject of a joke and the target of a joke. When the subject of a joke might be a body type, and it's a legitimate, it's a legitimate thing to make a joke about, because pretty much anything is a legitimate thing to make a joke about. It just depends what the joke is. It's one of the things he always says. I was at a comedy store yesterday, and there was some guy who got up on stage and he was trying to tell jokes about quite sort of contentious subject matter. But he totally bombed on stage because his jokes weren't funny enough to justify talking about the contentious subject that it was. And I felt like that was a through line in a couple of the scenes that we'd written, was like, I definitely see why we're talking about this subject in relation to this character at this time, but it just, on the level of the joke has to be better, otherwise it's not funny, and people go, oh, well,
there is one character in particular that is a part of her sort of character arc, and in the context of just the 3 scenes that were there, obviously it's a lot more concentrated than it would be in the idea of the lead show. But I think what was pointed out was, there was someone, I can't remember exactly who it was that said it, but it was someone like, oh, there are like pretty much every single joke about it was a body issue joke. And I kind of just went, there's nothing to do with any of the other characters.
Yeah.
It's only to do with that one, and it takes away from the impact of just having one character who has their specific issues. It's the same joke for everyone. And so that was definitely something that we revised, I think, in that third iteration of the script we did. But yeah, so it was definitely something that A, we needed to hear, and B, was really useful to hear.
Yeah, great. So let me leave you with a final sort of fantasy question. We're asking this of a bunch of writers. So if you had, say, a whole pile of money, let's say you had £50 million to spend on new musicals, how would you spend that?
50 million.
No idea.
I think, let's say what, so they say, how much did it take to take Book of Mormon to stage? It was about 9 million, is that right?
I'm not sure.
To say that to stage?
I do not know.
So you're looking at that, probably if we could just do anything, probably do a 2-pronged thing. We have obviously I'd really like to do the do and sort of see what that would look like in a big thing, but we also are working on another story which potentially we might musicalize later on down the road, which is like a kids cartoon. So it would be cool. I know that they're doing a SpongeBob musical that was announced recently. So it would be cool to do like a sort of odd version of a cartoon thing. But yeah, maybe putting 2 musicals to stage, like on a West End stage or something. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I really don't know. You know, I wouldn't know what to do. It's such a far-fetched.
You fantasize about having all this money, and then in this oh yeah, you've got it now. What do you do with it? But I don't know. It's one of those things.
Yeah, but just whatever we can do to get what we've written staged as soon as possible. Really, I mean that's the dream.
Yeah. So specifically for you guys, what is your next step aside from finishing the do? Let's say you finish it by December. What's next? What are you going to do with it?
I think it's not going to be. We kind of not even resigned ourselves to the fact that we started working on this, operating under the assumption that this project isn't what's going to get us on the map. It's other stuff. There are far more avenues for success in the creative industries in things like television, even film here, than there are for musicals. It's just, I mean, it's a big industry here, but it's not something that I think that's within our grasp. But I think you perhaps need more clout in the industry even when you're starting off. So I think we're going to spend the next couple of years probably building a name for ourselves in other areas, in other industries. But when it comes to creating this, I think it's going to be going to a festival like the Fringe, probably doing it on a shoestring budget, probably shooting it, like film it, and send it to people, send it to anybody who has any kind of money, who could conceivably fund it or help us out, or who has contacts, who knows the industry, who knows way more than we do.
I think a major part of that as well will be relocation at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Edinburgh's lovely and all this stuff, but it's a country. Scotland's a country of 5 million people. There's no sort of real thriving industry of really much apart from oil. So it's like oil and whiskey. So we'll probably end up even further down south. London is obviously. Every single person working in the creative industries in the whole UK wants to move to London at some point.
Right. Is Brexit a factor in your consideration? Scotland, England, and all of that, or not?
I think Brexit, obviously, there's a huge amount of political opinions on either side. I think the real sort of impact of Brexit on the creative industries is pretty much, I don't want to say overrated because I may have to eat those words, but I don't feel like it's going to seismically change the creative industries in this country as much as, I mean, there's very little link with Europe anyway, in terms of like, obviously like that's simplifying it, but the American and UK markets for theatre are far more interlinked than our cultural ties with Europe. I think if we come out of the EU and then just continue business as usual with America, musical theatre stuff is probably going to pretty much remain at the same sort of level of public.
We say this with our advanced degrees in economics.
Yes, obviously.
Well, you share a degree between the two of you, so you can enjoy that. So, all right. Well, you're both delightful together and separately, and it's been great spending time with you guys. So, Eliot and Oscar, thank you for your time, and do stay in touch when you finish your show. Do let us know what's up with that, and keep us abreast of your next steps.
Cool. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. You bet.
Thank you.